Alright, so welcome to my kettlebell and TRX class that I'll be teaching this morning. This class is going to focus on mobility, strength building, and also toning different parts of the body. And for today's warm-up, we're going to start out with some foam rolling to sort of get the blood moving, get our backside of our body a little bit looser, get some lactic acid out if you've worked out previously this week, and just to get the body ready to do some heavier and more strenuous movements. So the first thing we're going to do for our warm-up is we're going to take a foam roller and just we're going to start with about 30 seconds to a minute of our back. And after we do our back, we're going to do our hamstrings and our calf regions. And another thing that I forgot to mention is we're doing this whole class either barefoot or in shoes that don't inhibit movement like these. So if you have traditional shoes on, go ahead and take those off right now. And let's get into it. So with this foam rolling, it's best to start out slow and controlled. And if you go slowly along, you can actually feel each part of your spine cracking. Make sure you go start flat and then kind of move your weight to the left and get your left flat. We'll get the right side. We'll go up to the shoulders there, and you can kind of hold your arms up to get it to sort of dig in a little more. And feel free, if you're feeling any spots that are a lot tighter in your back than others, to focus more on those to help loosen those up. To move to the legs. So the easiest way to do this, depending on how sore you are right now, or what level you're at, is you can either just have both of them on the foam roller at the same time, and it'll be a little less pointed pressure. The pressure will be spread out between your two legs. That might be good to start off with that first. If your legs are kind of tender, you get them warmed up. Calves, the calves. Make sure you move around, hit the outside of the calves, the inside. And for some of you that aren't as tight or as tender, you can take one leg and just throw it over the other to get more pressure on the hamstrings. And as well, you can do that on the other side. And go ahead and flip around to the front, and you can roll out your quads if you want. I never really noticed a huge difference, but certainly the inside of my legs, the adductors, those always need a lot of work. So especially if we're going to be squatting, doing movements like that. So for that, just sort of throw one leg over it, and just roll back and forth. slippery. So once we got the back and the legs nice and loosened up and some blood getting sent there, we're gonna go ahead and lie on our backs and do some glute bridges to help get our minds focused on those glutes for when we start doing our squats and other movements that use our legs. So for a glute bridge, just lie flat down with your hands next to you on your side and your feet next to each other, and pull them as close to your butt as you can get them, and then you're just gonna raise yourself up and squeeze your glutes, and then lower yourself down. We'll go ahead and do 10 of those. And if you have some lower back pain, you don't have to raise it up as high as long as you're getting a good squeeze. Then after that, we're just gonna move on to some toe taps to get our core engaged and to make sure that we're keeping our back flat through some of the movements that use more of our lower back. And for these, you just raise your legs up to a 90-degree angle, and then we're gonna breathe out to engage the core as we go down to touch, and then when we bring it back up, we're gonna breathe in. So we'll do 10 on each side of these. And if you can't get your back totally flat, don't force it into that position. Your back may just be arched a little bit, so but you don't want too much room. And then after those, we're gonna do a nice little hip opener, and for that we're just gonna squat down like so. And unless you have really good ankle mobility, your feet probably won't sit flat on the ground, but try to lean back as much as you can, and we're just gonna go side to side for about 30 seconds. And you're just gonna take each elbow and sort of on each side, when you get to your full range of movement, just put a little bit of pressure to sort of loosen that area up, open it up, so those abductors can get really tight. And for this last exercise, we are going to, it's basically going to help us get our balance on point, especially using the kettlebells and stuff, swinging around and doing all those things. Balance is going to be very important, especially, not having shoes and to help you out. So for this, it's gonna help warm up the muscles in your feet and your ankles, and sort of just kind of help you get ready to do some of these heavier movements, just like everything else we've been doing. So for this, you can't see my head, but because this is the biggest room in my house. For this, you're just gonna step one foot on the floor in front of you, and you're gonna lift your other foot, and you're gonna imagine that there's a circle around you. And so what we're gonna do with that circle is you're gonna take the foot that's raised in the air, and you're just gonna reach it out and tap the point right in front of you in the circle. Tap the point out there. And then we're just gonna move around in this circle until we hit the back, and then we're gonna go back around to the front, and you're probably gonna feel, depending on what you're engaging right now, your quads or your plantar fascia really start to burn once you get towards the end of this. So, which is good because our plantar fascia doesn't get used nearly enough, especially not when everybody's wearing those big cushiony shoes. So then we'll just move to the other side and do the exact same thing. And the whole time trying to keep yourself as stable as you can. Really using those foot muscles of the foot that's on the ground to keep you planted. This is a good warm up, but it's also a good exercise for just your day to day. Then go ahead and do it one more time. You should start to be feeling those leg muscles firing right now. Alright, and then for the last thing that we're gonna do, it's just gonna be an easy 15 bodyweight squats to get our blood pumping and our muscles ready to add some weight to our exercises. So we'll just take a normal stance, and we'll hold our hands in front of us just because we're going to be using kettlebells, so we're going to be holding them mostly in front of us anyway. So then we'll just focus on technique, slowing it down when we get to the bottom, and then also when we get to the top, really squeezing those glutes and making sure that we're using them properly. So Let's do 15 of those. Make sure y'all can see me. And if these look really stiff, I apologize because I just did legs yesterday. So. And if you feel yourself starting to fall forward, just look up at the ceiling. There we go, that's our warm up. So your lower body, most especially, should start feeling pretty warm by now. Your upper body, we didn't do a ton of work on that, but it should feel nice and loose. Actually, there's one more that I forgot about, so I'm sorry. But this one will help loosen up our shoulders and our back a little bit. So it's basically just going to be a down dog. It's going to look like this. So you're going to go down, get a nice little stretch on there.